in this little green color? It's because this is going to help us when we're doing our dissections. That little bump that we see there, that we're going to call the optic chiasm. It's going to be where our optic nerves cross. I'll show that to you in a moment. It's called the optic chiasm. Does anybody know what this little part of the brain is? It's actually, half of it is part of the brain, half of it is not. Pituitary gland. Nice, Adriana. The pituitary gland. The optic chiasm. C-H-I-A-S-M. Zoom in on that. And the other one is the pituitary gland. And then one other little bump. Can you guys see this other little bump right there? Or I put a dot on it. That other little bump that we see right there, that we're going to call, let's just write it over here, the mammillary body. This region of the brain, we're going to see that nicely when we're doing our dissections. So we have three bumps: the optic chiasm, the pituitary gland, and the mammillary body. So if we look up at the computer screen, let's look at the computer screen. Everybody get those written? If we look up at the computer screen, I'll put that back in a moment. Let's go over here. Let's look at those. So right here, if we go to this, right here. All right. So everyone has your diagrams in front of you. Identify this region of the brain. All of this right here, cerebrum. Identify just this circle.
Thalamus.
Thalamus. Identify this. Hypothalamus. Identify this structure. All of it together is the epithalamus. Just this little bump over here is the
Pineal gland.
pineal gland. Again, what is this? Say it out loud, please.
Thalamus.
Thalamus. This? Hypothalamus. Just this bump?
Pineal gland.
Pineal gland. Identify this region right here.
The
All
midbrain.
together.
Midbrain.
Midbrain. Which includes, what's that top bump called? Superior colliculus. What's the bottom bump called?
Inferior.
Inferior colliculus. What is this bulge right here called?
Pons.
All of this right here is the pons. What is that bulge right there called?
Medulla
Medulla oblongata. What is this yellow structure going down? Spinal cord. What do we call, what was this region of the brain?
The midbrain.
Midbrain. This one right here?
Pons.
Pons. And this region right here?
Medulla.
Medulla oblongata. All three of these together are called the brainstem. What was this region right here?
The pineal gland.
Pineal gland. This region?
Thalamus.
Thalamus. So if you don't know it, after the class says it, say it out loud. Why?
Because you remember it.
That helps you to remember it. Even if you don't know it as fast as everyone else is saying it, still say it a half a second afterward. What is this region?
Pineal gland.
Pineal gland. Everyone say that.
Pineal gland.
What is this region?
Thalamus.
Thalamus. What is this region?
Hypothalamus.
Hypothalamus. What is this region?
Corpus callosum.
Corpus callosum. It includes all of this region, which is part of all of this, which is generically called the cerebrum.
Oh, cerebrum.
What is this region of the brain called? Cerebellum. I didn't write that down. What is this yellow region?
Spinal gland.
Spinal cord. What is this bulge?
Medulla
Medulla
oblongata.
oblongata. What is this region right here?
Pons.
Pons. What is this region?
Midbrain.
Midbrain. What is the top bump of the midbrain?
Superior.
colliculus. What is the bottom bump?
Inferior.
Inferior colliculus. If I do a blow up, let's see, This is just showing you the thalamus right here. On either side, the thalamus made up of these nuclei. These are groups of cell bodies. This is showing you, what do I notice right here? What is this?
That's the hypothalamus.
Hypothalamus made up of nuclei.
Jelly.
Each one of these has a specific function. Does anybody recognize what this is? The pituitary gland. What bone marking does the pituitary gland sit in? The sella turcica. The sella turcica is part of what bone? Sphenoid bone. The superior surface of the sphenoid bone, as many of you correctly told me on the exam. All right, now, here's the thalamus right here. Here is the pituitary gland. And then Richard, see this structure coming out this way? That's our basal ganglia that we were talking about earlier. This region right here, can you see the two bumps? So this must be what? Midbrain. Here's the superior colliculus, that is the inferior. What must this be?
The pons.
Pons, and what must this be?
The medulla.
Medulla oblongata. This is what it looks like over here in this region. If we look over here, this. Right here is our thalamus on either side, thalamus. Can you guys see these four bumps? Okay, when we looked at half of the brain, this was the superior colliculus, this was the inferior, so this must be the midbrain, right? All of this must be the midbrain. But when you look at both halves, notice there's 1, 2, 3, 4 bodies. The word we use for bodies is corpora. Corpus, singular, or corpora, plural. There are 4 bodies. What is the word we use for 4? Quad. So this, all 4 of these together are called the corpora quadrigemina. Gemina means twins, gemelos, right? Twins. Corpora. These two are the 2 superior colliculi involved in visual reflexes. These 2 right here are the inferior colliculi involved in auditory reflexes. This is the back of the pons. This is the back of the medulla oblongata. Over here, just a drawing of that, and then just showing you the sections. All right, so last thing we need to do is we need to get to our, write down our function for our cerebellum, which I'm sorry, I forgot to do that, and then look at our model, so we can make sure that we can identify all of this in the model. So back over here, here's our cerebellum, and in our cerebellum, for the functions, this is an area that you use all the time and just probably take it for granted. So all of this that looks like a tree or whatever with all these foldings, that is our cerebellum. All of that right there. Notice that you can see gray and white matter within the cerebellum as well. The white matter looks like a tree, right, with branches. We're going to call it later the arbor vitae. And so what the cerebellum does is it smooths and it coordinates our body movements. This is the part of the brain that receives sensory information. It receives sensory information that smooths out your body movements, such as, let's say when you're walking and you're walking along the sidewalk and there's a little thing and you trip on the sidewalk, 9 times out of 10, you rarely fall flat on your face, right? When you trip, usually you recover, you know, you're walking along and you recover. That recovery is coming from motor commands from the cerebellum that receive, when you fall over, it's receiving equilibrium information and proprioception information. Quick, through the spinal cord, up through the brainstem, over from the pons to the cerebellum. And then when it receives that sensory input, it analyzes it, decides on the response, and then sends that response to the appropriate skeletal muscles so that you don't fall flat on your face. It's also the part that is involved in smoothing out when you're, maybe some of you, is anybody going to get to go here, at least during the free concerts at South by Southwest coming up, right? So you're there dancing, right? Getting into the, you guys are, whatever. It takes you just a while. I don't know what you guys, somebody stand up and dance. When you first start to dance, it's a little bit awkward, right? For me, it's like, you know, like try, and then all of a sudden you get into your rhythm and, you know, you're dancing, right? That smoothing of that body rhythm, that's the cerebellum. It's receiving all that sensory info, your balance, the sound info, the beat, you know, whatever, receiving all of that information and then smoothing it out so that you can do that, you know, do your dancing or whatever it is that you're doing. All right? So everybody good on that?
Where's the epithalamus?
The epithalamus is best seen in this image right here, and it includes, I showed it to you there too, but let me show it to you first here in purple. So it's all of this right here, Shannon. All of that is the epithalamus. It includes the habenicula and some other, but what we need to know for our class is the pineal gland, which is just this pine cone shaped region. And that's why that's the only part I mentioned. On our model, let's look at our model now. So in our model, right away, can you see this white part? What is that? Corpus callosum. What's all of this out here? That's the cerebrum. What's this right here? Cerebellum. The smoothing out part. Can you tell me what this is right here?
The thalamus.
That's the thalamus, that circle. And then can you see that little dot in the middle? We're going to call that brown dot in the middle the interthalamic adhesion, or massa intermedia. But for right now, we're happy with thalamus. That's tonight and tomorrow where you're going to master this stuff, right? All the rest of the little tiny details. This is the thalamus. What is this right here?
Hypothalamus.
Hypothalamus. Shannon, what is 13 and 23 together called? 13 and 23 together that you just asked me about?
Oh,
Epithalamus. 23 is the pineal gland of that epithalamus. Okay? What is this down here? Pituitary gland. You can just barely see 1, 2 bumps right there. So what would this region of the brain be?
The midbrain.
Midbrain. See this right here, that bulge?
The bond.
Pons.
Pons.
See the second little bulge there?
The medulla.
Medulla oblongata. And then what's this from here? Down.
Spinal cord.
Spinal cord. Remember the hypothalamus? I told you there were 3 bumps around it. Okay. So, rostral to that is this bump, which is the optic chiasm. And then this is the pituitary gland. And number 24? Mammillary body. Very good. We're not going to have pituitary gland on our brains, guys. We're not going to see that. We're not going to see it. We are going to see 2 of the 3 meninges. Remember the meninges. You watched the video on that. They were the outermost meninge was the dura mater. Second one, arachnoid mater. Pia. We're going to see the arachnoid and the pia. Because when they take the brains out of, these are sheep brains, they take off the dura mater and comes off, the pituitary gland comes off too. It's sitting in that cella tursum of the sheep skull, and so it comes off. Everybody okay on that? Identify this region.
Thalamus.
Thalamus. Hypothalamus.
Pineal gland.
Pineal gland. Just the bump.
Superior
collicus. Inferior collicus, and then all of it.
By midbrain.
What's this thing?
Corpus
Corpus callosum. What is this number 11? Septum pellucidum. Remember, we're going to poke through there, and we're going to see that there's a space filled with cerebrospinal fluid. We're going to call it the lateral ventricle, behind that. All right? What's this big bump right here? It's part of the optic chiasm. What's this? Pituitary. What's that? Mammillary. So let's look what that optic chiasm is. That's a kind of a strange name. And so, do I have the meninges? Okay, we did all of this already. Thanks to your guys' hard work. Okay, so let me go to this other. All right, on the cranial nerves. Right here. Okay. So this helps us to see what the heck is that optic chiasm. Can everybody see that we are at the base of the brain? We're looking at the bottom. If I take this brain right here, put it back together. Everybody see this? Everybody look up for a second. Tori, everybody see this? I'm looking now at the bottom of it. Okay? And at that bottom, I see the bottom of the eyes. Can you see the optic nerve coming from the eyes? Can you see where the optic nerves cross? That cross is the optic chiasm. So we're just seeing a little bit. The way it's going to look in our sheep brain is they're going to cut that optic nerve right here. Everybody look up, please. So we're not going to see this. We're not going to see this. All we're going to see is this right there, because they're going to cut it right there, and they're going to cut it right there. That's going to be our optic chiasm. Here are our mammillary bodies on either side, and then this is the bottom of the pituitary gland, the bottom of the pituitary. These are called olfactory bulbs. Olfactory bulbs. This is what they look like in go back this way, cranial nerves. This is what the olfactory bulbs look like in cross section, right here. See from the side, this is our nose, the inside of our nose. Here's the neurons, sensory neurons we were talking about earlier. They synapse here with neurons in the olfactory bulb. So where it bulges is the olfactory bulb. Where it goes back to the brain is called the olfactory tract. So the olfactory nerves, olfactory bulb, and then from here back, olfactory tract. Over here, here's the olfactory bulb, and these are the olfactory tract. These are the optic nerves. This is the optic chiasm, and then from here back is the optic tract. We're going to learn. Whew. That's just crazy, right? Okay. So we know already what each part of the brain does. Next time we're going to get into details on those. Those are called cranial nerves. The olfactory nerve and the optic nerve, those are called cranial nerves. Those are part of the efferent division. All we're doing right now is the integrative function. Remember, brain and spinal cord, they're made up of 100% sensory neurons, interneurons, or motor neurons? Interneurons, 100% interneurons. All they're doing is receiving sensory info, analyzing it, deciding on the response, and then sending out those motor commands, both the brain and the spinal cord, both of them. We know now each of these parts. So do you guys want to give it a shot, or do you want to practice? We have a good 20 minutes, we have 30 minutes. You want to give it a shot, dissecting those brains?